slipstream. I pulled out, and just as I pulled out, Valtteri moved very slightly, and that just put me offline and put me onto the wet stuff. And in perfectly dry conditions on a very not ordinary circuit, it's dangerous.
I think Max was at fault. I think that race weekend ahead, and that's massive for him. So why don't you just play the point?
Hamilton's going to try again, this time on the inside, a continent touch! Verstappen is out of the race, and that's a big crash into Cops!
Was it Lewis's fault? Was it Max's fault? I don't know. I'd kind of fall down on racing incident.
F1 is a battle of precision, but sometimes it turns into a war of pride.
I'm really surprised of his behavior after the race. We went on the scale, started to punch me, wanted to punch me and stuff, and this is not professional.
Because when egos clash at 200 miles per hour, things get ugly fast. No handshakes, no apologies, just rage, radio meltdowns, and moves that cross the line. These are F1's 10 most disrespectful moments. Number 1. Max Verstappen punches Esteban Okcon. Lap 44. Max Verstappen is leading the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's just past Hamilton. He's flying. Everything's perfect. Then Esteban Okcon shows up. One lap down, he tries to unlap himself, and in doing so, takes Verstappen out. The contact sends Max spinning. He loses the lead, loses the win, and loses his mind.
That is Max Verstappen, the race leader, and he has spun coming down the hill. Verstappen has lost the lead to Hamilton by spinning out.
The crowd is stunned. The commentators can't believe it. Ocon's fighting for pride, Max is fighting for a victory. And now, he's got neither. But the real fireworks come after the checkered flag. At the post-race weigh-in, Verstappen walks straight up to Okcon. No words, no warning. He shoves him hard, once, twice, gets in his face. The tension is electric. Officials pull them apart before it gets worse. But the message is clear. Max doesn't forget. Max doesn't forgive. The FIA hands him 2 days of community service. But for Verstappen, that's nothing. Because in his world, that move wasn't reckless. It was disrespectful. And if you disrespect Max Verstappen, you're getting more than a radio complaint. You're getting a shove in front of the entire world. No regrets, no chill. Just rage in racing boots. Number 2, Schumacher crashes into Hill to win the title. The 1994 title came down to 1 point. Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill. One final race in Adelaide, one shot at glory. On lap 36, Schumacher brushes the wall. His car is wounded, steering damaged, championship slipping away. But instead of backing off, he makes a move no one saw coming. Hill goes for the overtake, the doors open, and Schumacher slams it shut with his entire car. They collide. Hill's suspension is wrecked. He's out. Schumacher's car is parked too. But it doesn't matter because Hill needed to finish to win the title. He doesn't. Schumacher does. World champion. The paddock is stunned. The crowd is silent. What looked like a racing incident? It wasn't. Replays showed the truth. Schumacher turned in with a broken car on purpose. Years later, the verdict is clear. This wasn't strategy. It was sabotage, a deliberate hit, a title won not with brilliance, but with brute force. It was Schumacher's first world championship, but it came with an asterisk and a cloud that never fully cleared. Because in that moment, he didn't just take out Hill, he rewrote what was possible and what was permissible in Formula One. Number 3, Schumacher tries it again on Villeneuve. 3 years later, and it's déjà vu. Another title decider, another rival, same Schumacher. This time, it's Jacques Villeneuve standing in his way. The championship is on a knife's edge. Whoever finishes ahead takes it all. Lap 48. Villeneuve dives down the inside. It's clean, it's bold, it's for the title. And Schumacher, he turns in deliberately. The Ferrari slams into the Williams with a thud. Straight up sabotage again. But Villeneuve doesn't spin. He doesn't crash. He holds it. And Schumacher, he's the one who ends up in the gravel. The move didn't just fail, it exposed him.
Villeneuve is all over him, look. He's going through. Oh, yes. I don't think.
Out goes Michael Schumacher.
That didn't work. That didn't work, Mike.
Villeneuve goes on to finish and claim the championship. And for the first time in F1 history, the FIA drops the hammer. Schumacher is disqualified from the entire championship standings. No runner-up, no second place. Just erased. The message was clear. One dirty move might be brushed off, but pull the same stunt twice, and the sport bites back. Jerez wasn't just the end of the season. It was the moment Formula One finally said, enough. And for Schumacher, it was the title that slipped away, not on track, but in disgrace. Number 4, Lewis Hamilton's 51G crash celebration. The build-up to Silverstone 2021 was electric. Lewis Hamilton was racing on home soil. Max Verstappen held the championship lead. Neither was backing down and the tension was ready to snap. It did on the very first lap. Heading into Top's corner at 180 miles per hour, Hamilton lunged for the inside. Verstappen didn't yield. The result was brutal. The two touched, and Max's Red Bull was launched into the barriers with a force of 51 Gs. The car was destroyed. Max was shaken, winded, and taken straight to the hospital for scans.
Hamilton's going to try again, this time on the inside, a continent touch! Verstappen is out of the race, and that's a big crash!
As medics worked, the crowd erupted in cheers. On track, Hamilton pushed through a 10-second penalty, clawed his way back, and won the race. But what came next lit the fuse. While Verstappen lay in a hospital bed, Hamilton celebrated like he'd just clinched the championship. Flag in hand, champagne flying, crowd roaring. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't quiet. It was bold, loud, and everywhere. To some, it was resilience under pressure. To others, it was cold, disrespectful, and tone-deaf. Max didn't forget. Red Bull didn't forgive. The rivalry, already tense, was now on fire. Silverstone wasn't just a flashpoint, it was a declaration. From that moment on, it wasn't just about points, it was personal. Number 5. Russell blames Bottas after massive crash. Imola 2021. Wet track, narrow margins, and rising tension between two drivers, fighting for very different futures. George Russell, young and hungry. Valtteri Bottas under pressure to keep his Mercedes seat. What followed wasn't just a crash, it was the statement. On lap 32, Russell went for the overtake, down the main straight. Bottas held the racing line. The track was still damp. The speed was close to 200 miles per hour, and the edge of the circuit was unforgiving. As Russell moved right, his tire dipped onto the white line. He lost control. The Williams veered into Bottas.
What the was he doing? Honestly, see for what?
Both cars slammed into the barriers in a high-speed wreck that could have gone much worse. But it wasn't the crash that made headlines. It was what happened after. Russell climbed out of the wreckage, marched over to Bottas' cockpit and slapped his helmet. No hesitation. Then came the words blame, accusation, anger, and all of it live on camera. Later, Russell apologized. Emotions were high, the conditions were tough, but the moment was already burned into memory. A young driver publicly snapping at a senior teammate candidate. It wasn't just messy, it was disrespectful. At Imola, reputations didn't just take damage on track, they took it in front of the world. Number 6. Multi-21 Seb. Team orders are supposed to bring calm, control, a clean finish. But in Malaysia in 2013, they triggered one of the most infamous betrayals in Red Bull history. Late in the race, Red Bull had both cars running P1 and P2. Mark Webber ahead, Sebastian Vettel right behind. The message from the pit wall was clear. Multi-21, pole position, bring the cars home. No racing, no risk. Vettel ignored it. With laps winding down, he launched a full-on attack. Side by side, wheel to wheel, no mercy. At over 180 miles per hour, the reigning world champion stole the lead from his teammate. Webber was livid. He had dialed his engine down, played by the rules, and then got ambushed by the one guy who was supposed to have his back. After the race, the tension was ice cold. Webber called it out in the podium. Multi-21 Seb, a clear shot at Wedle for breaking their agreement. Wedle, no apology, just a shrug. I was faster. That move didn't just win a race, it fractured trust. The Red Bull garage was split, and for Webber, it was the moment he knew. It was two cars, but only one favorite. Respect wasn't lost in Malaysia, it was taken on purpose. Number 7, Alonso versus Masa. Elbows out, wheel-banging rage. The 2007 European Grand Prix wasn't just wet, it was wild. But the chaos didn't end with the rain. It ended with Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa trading blows on track and off. With just a few laps to go, Alonso was hunting down Massa. The track was damp, grip was fading, and neither driver was giving an inch. They banged wheels not once, but twice. First into turn 1, then again through turn 2. Sparks flew, cars twitched, and for a moment it looked like both might end up in the gravel. But Alonso made it stick. He muscled past, took the lead, and went on to win. Then came the fireworks. In Parc Fermé, the handshake was stiff. The tension was thick. But it was Alonso's post-race comments that set everything off. On live TV, with cameras rolling, he said, "Massa didn't race fair." Massa fired back, accused Alonso of playing dirty, Both drivers pointed fingers. It wasn't just rivalry, it was personal. The paddock ate it up. Fans took sides, and what should have been a classic late race overtake became one of the most petty, heated feuds of the season. At Nürburgring, the win went to Alonso, but the spotlight, that stayed on the grudge. Number 8, Michael Schumacher charges David Coulthard in the pit lane. Spa 1998 was chaos from the first corner. Rain pouring, cars spinning, visibility near zero. But the real storm hit after Michael Schumacher's race ended in a wall of fury. Midway through the Grand Prix, Schumacher was flying, dominating, lapping the field in atrocious conditions.
Look at Fielder head into the wall. Who was that?
Coulthard in the wall.
David Coulthard into the wall will stop the race.
They'll have to red flag this.
Terrible. Look,
Then came David Coulthard. On a soaked straight with spray thick enough to blind anyone behind, Coulthard lifted to let Schumacher through. But instead of moving off the racing line, he stayed in it, practically invisible in the mist. Schumacher never saw him coming. The Ferrari slammed into the back of Coulthard's McLaren at full speed.
I get that David Coulthard in these appalling conditions. Oh God!
Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out.
Front suspension shattered. Race over. Championship hopes hanging by a thread. But Schumacher didn't just walk away. He charged. Storming down the pit lane, helmet off, dripping wet, Schumacher went straight for Coulthard's garage. He had to be physically restrained by Ferrari staff as he tried to confront DC face-to-face. No words, no diplomacy, just rage boiling over. The cameras caught everything. The paddock froze, and in that moment, the cool, calculated 7-time champion vanished, replaced by a man who completely snapped. Spa 1998 wasn't just a racing incident, it was a full-blown meltdown, broadcast live to the world. Number 9, Villeneuve blocks. Fisichella's flying lap and doesn't care. Qualifying is sacred in Formula One. One lap, one shot, no traffic, no excuses. But at Hockenheim in 2006, Jacques Villeneuve didn't get the memo or didn't care. Giancarlo Fisichella was on a flying lap in Q1, pushing hard to make it through the first round. Everything was on the edge. Tires, brakes, time. But as he came through the final sector, there it was. Villeneuve cruising ahead, completely unaware, or maybe too aware. He didn't move, he didn't yield. Fisichella had to lift, the lap was ruined, and just like that, his qualifying was over. The paddock expected an apology, a radio miscommunication, some kind of explanation. Instead, Villeneuve delivered the coldest response of the weekend. Didn't see him, not my problem. No remorse, no acknowledgement. Just a shrug and a media room full of silence. The FIA wasn't impressed. They investigated the incident and issued a reprimand, but the message was clear. Villeneuve had no interest in playing nice. For a world champion, it was less about pace and more about pride. Blocking a lap happens, but blowing it off like it didn't matter? That's where it turns from mistake to disrespect. And Villeneuve didn't just cross the line, he parked on it. Number 10, Trulli versus Sutil. Insults, accusations, and replay wars. The opening lap of the 2009 Brazilian Grand Prix was carnage. Cars colliding, debris flying, and tempers boiling before the race even settled. In the middle of the chaos, Jarno Trulli and Adrian Sutil. Going into turn 5, the pair made contact. Sutil spun. Trulli went off into the grass and slammed into the barriers. Game over. But for Trulli, the real race had just started. Furious, he stormed through the paddock straight to Sutil. No cooldown, no questions, just rage. He got in Sutil's face and unloaded, accusing him of recklessness, of ruining his race, of not knowing how to drive. Sutil, cool as ice, hit back with a line that instantly became legendary. "Are you blind?" The argument was caught on camera. It was tense, petty, and honestly hilarious. Later, they both doubled down in interviews, pulling out replay footage. Like lawyers in a courtroom, neither backed down, neither apologized. The incident itself, a simple racing clash, but the fallout, pure F1 drama. Insults, sarcasm, and one of the most meme-worthy post-race spats the sport had seen. Brazil 2009 didn't change the championship, but it gave fans a front-row seat to what happens when pride crashes harder than any car. Speed brings glory, but grudges make history, because when the stakes are sky-high, some drivers don't just push limits, they erase them. And that's what makes Formula One completely unstoppable.